hello from Marlborough. Some lunch at the Wellington Arms in Marlborough. That looks pretty good. Hello. Was that enough preamble? I'm not really sure. I just had pie in Marlborough. That was great. Today I am walking the Wansdyke Path. I think that sign back there was probably the absolute start of the Wansdyke Path as far as the OS map seems to show. And from here, I think it runs for about 13 miles, something like that. Not a very long walk, quite achievable in a single day. It runs to nearly Devizes. First Wansdyke Path sign there. Don't know if you can see that very well, but down there is Marlborough College. I'm standing on a bit of a hill across the way from it here, but there's also, perhaps you can see those two trees up at the top, or two bunches of trees up at the top. That is, I think it's called Marlborough Mound. So I face this way around. Marlborough Mound, which is kind of a sister hill, if that's the right word, to Silbury Hill, built around the same time, 4,500 years ago. Possibly even this was slightly earlier. It's only the second Wansdyke Path marker sign thing I've seen so far. Crossing a field here, so I should probably say a bit more about what the plan is for today. As I mentioned earlier, it's only about 13 miles, the Wansdyke Path, so very achievable in a day, but I am going to try and fit in a wild camp. I have a long-running ambition to sleep in a ditch at some point. Not the first person on YouTube to sleep in a ditch. Maybe I'll point at some other notable examples of ditch sleeping. But the Wansdyke is one long ditch from somewhere near Marlborough to somewhere near Bristol, on and off. Whether or not that's all the same section of the original earthwork is debated, but anyway, it is a long ditch. So if I can't find a good spot to sleep in a ditch along the extent of the Wansdyke, then it may never happen. That's quite a nice vantage point of Westwood. So I'm now in the eastern extreme of Westwoods. It's confusing, the eastern bit of Westwoods, in an area of Westwoods called Short Oak Copse, which is ironic because it seems to be filled with these very tall beech trees. That's a beech tree, isn't it? And finally now we have our first proper glimpse of the Wansdyke, and it's kind of all the more mysterious when you encounter it here in the middle of the woods in a way. This is so lovely and serene. I feel like it deserves a short stretch of just walking along without me babbling on all over it. I think I'm now at the corner of the woods where, according to megalithic.co.uk, that standing stone is in Broome Copse. Bit of a holly thicket there. Is that a good sign? Clearly somebody has been here before. I was just starting to think I'd arrived empty-handed. Does that make sense? But then, hello. What's that? That, to me, looks like the guy. I mean, yeah, obviously it is just one stone. And we don't know when that was stood up. It could have been, you know, a Victorian jape, or I don't know, a memorial to someone recently, like the football shirt back there. But I'm really pleased I found that, and it is where it was pointed to. I think the thank you megalithic.co.uk. trying to get back to a path now. Should have just gone back the way I came, because that was relatively easy in terms of the holly thicket. Okay, I made it back to a decent track, and I've probably dragged half of the undergrowth out with me. Definitely easier to approach the standing stone there from the north, as I did, and a lot more battling through undergrowth if you're trying to come at it from the south, as I found on my way back down to this path. Just going to take a quick detour from the path here. As I remember from my last walk, there is a long barrow just up here. You can just about spot it if you know what you're looking for from the track running along there. And yeah, it's quite a nice spot, I remember. With, as before, some kind of offering there. Is that the same one I saw back in March? But that appears to be new. And there's another ribbon tied over here. Perhaps this is these were visits at the summer solstice this year, or around that time. Wow, now that looks kind of properly pagan. And up here. Okay, after that detour, which was very nice to see the standing stone and the long barrow, I'm now back on the Wansdyke Path. You can see slightly raised bank over to this side. There is a sort of ditch in the middle. Perhaps we'll find a spot up here to go and take a look inside. There's the ditch down there. Could probably walk along some of that, I guess. Not too buried in the undergrowth. It's really different light. Just being down in the ditch or up on the embankment feels very gloomy here in an atmospheric way. This section of the Wansdyke. I think I'm going to scrabble back up the bank though, because that looks a bit undergrowthy. I don't know how well that comes across on camera. Sometimes these earthworks sort of lose something, a kind of sense of shape and dimension. I get a bit lost on a flat screen, and maybe it just looks like a ditch, because it kind of is. But I think that's really quite special. Mark from A Coincidental Life, not your usual outdoorsy channel, but he does have some fantastic videos of walks, particularly this kind of area. Got a beautiful video from was that this year in spring, maybe last year, of this section of the Wansdyke here when the bluebells are flowering. Can you imagine it? Well, you don't have to imagine it. You could I'll up here or up there, or put a link, go and have a look at A Coincidental Life. Yes, indeed it does. We are actually walking in the ditch for a bit. This is great. Looks a tiny bit overgrown in places, but I'm sure I'll manage. This is pretty good, right in the ditch. Enjoying this. Here comes some holly. Brief diversion there, but now back into the ditch. A ditch version, I guess you could say. I think this may be the YouTube video with the most uses of the word ditch. Getting a bit shallow here, the ditch of the Wansdyke. Let's look at the colour on that. Orange. I think we are now coming to the end of West Woods. So beautiful bit of woodland. Even if ditches aren't your thing, I mean, who would not be into following ditches up Wansdyke Path? Yeah, for the tiny minority among you who don't consider following a ditch for an afternoon to be a fun day out, would still recommend West Woods. Very nice spot. Now, I remember this from my previous walk. The Wansdyke goes along the edge of a sort of field boundary here, or is the field boundary, and I think the path is on the right hand side, but it's nice and tree lined and strewn with the occasional sarsen stone here and there. So I'm looking forward to revisiting this bit. This is that field boundary section of the Wansdyke. I think it's quite evocative. Obviously, you can see from the debris, shall we call it, sheep use this probably as a bit of shelter from the hot weather or the cold weather or wet weather. I think this little, probably largely forgotten about section of the Wansdyke's pretty nice. There's these beech trees along it, and as I mentioned before, there's one or two sarsen stones littered about. That one's kind of frog shaped almost, isn't it? Almost wonder if this couldn't have been a transportation route for sarsen stones. I mean, not if you believe that it's post-Roman. The standard theory on the Wansdyke is that it's 1,500 years old, from the Saxon era. Nobody is quite sure who was being defended from whom. Whom was being defended from whom? Possibly the ancient Britons as a defence against the Anglo-Saxons, possibly the other way around. But there are some other interesting, I don't know how credible, theories out there that it may be much older, possibly even be a Neolithic canal system. Does sound a bit far-fetched, but you know, at the same time, the arguments in favour of it being a defensive earthwork are slightly flawed, full of holes, just like the Wansdyke itself. That's pretty nice. Yeah, path heads away from the Wansdyke for a little while here. I think the Wansdyke goes over some completely private land where they didn't want a footpath going through, so we take a diversion over there to the site of Shore Medieval Village. This is where the OS map marks as the site of the medieval village of Shore. There are some earthworks marked on the map, but given the long grass here, you can't really see very much. I'm not sure what caused the decline of the village of Shore, but if you'd like a crackpot theory, I suspect it was much like many ancient civilizations became obsessed with the construction of some great public work, you know, be it the pyramids or the head statues on Easter Island. And in Shore, I suspect it was ditches. So obsessed were they with the construction of ditches, to the detriment of all other functions of a normal, functional community, that eventually they were driven to poverty and despair, and those that survived moved on to Swindon, perhaps. I think I'm leaving the site of the medieval village of Shore now, but I hope that's there's a lesson there for all of us. Yeah, I hope this is going to open up in a bit. A mile of this isn't going to be much fun. Still on the very overgrown path, still very overgrown. Gotta say, I'm quite glad to see that gate and that bit of open field there. A sarsen stone. That looks like as good a spot as any to have a bit of a break, drink some water. Thanks for the rest, old man. That was good. There's a road running along down there, and the Wansdyke Path for some reason carries on in a sort of straight line over the road, but that sorry about the terrible pointing, but that line of trees over there is actually the Wansdyke, and there is a public footpath that is for some reason not the Wansdyke Path that runs along that. So I reckon, for the sake of just walking down that short stretch of road, and then later on it joins up, but I think for the sake of walking down that short stretch of road, it's going to be much nicer to actually follow as much of the Wansdyke as you possibly can. Whoop, falling over. So I'm going to do that. Yeah, managed to make myself quite a nuisance on that short stretch of road, but never mind. I'm not exactly sure where the footpath goes along here. It looks like on the OS map it's kind of inside the Wansdyke. Let's have a look. Is there anything like a path up here, or are you meant to walk along the field boundary? Yeah, I would say that's a path. Wow. Sorry, collar upturned again, got a bit sunny there. But this is a rarely seen bit of the Wansdyke, I imagine then, because the official path goes over there. But look what they're missing. Right up on the embankment here, tree lined, shady. I'm glad I made the diversion for this. And this reminds me of my favourite section of Wansdyke, the bits just in the Wye Valley down near the bottom, up above Redbrook, between Chepstow and Monmouth. Has this sort of feel to it. Would say that slow though this is, lovely though this is, it's slow. Wrong way around. Progress is a bit slow, given it's a bit overgrown. I guess this is not a very well walked path, but that's just glorious. Really happy with finding that. I think it's going to need an increasing generosity of spirit to describe this as an actual footpath. Well, yeah, probably a bit of a mess now. Sorry. I was getting out of the Wansdyke, sort of, I don't know what you call that, like a linear copse there. I'm now walking along the side. It was pretty hard work, actually. It was very overgrown. So, yeah, unless you're a fan of hacking your way through the jungle, then probably you would be better off sticking to the official Wansdyke path. Although some bits of that were beautiful. Nice view of Knapp Hill and Walker's Hill. What's Walker's Hill or Adam's Grave over on the right hand side, and Knapp Hill on the left. In the middle, my favourite car park, Pewsey Downs car park.